I'm just refreshing the Twitch page, making sure we're all
Don't break your
loaded
femur by
and good.
stretching.
Oh, please don't.
Voice would always be shot by
That
the
would
end of
be
it.
so painful.
Thankfully, I don't have a. At the beginning, when we first started streaming, it definitely was affected a little more. But I think at this point, I have exercised my voice enough where I really don't have an issue. Ace Attorney is by far the hardest one on my voice because Phoenix's voice is definitely not easy. And as Phoenix, I do
No.
talk a lot in the same exact voice. So it is a bit. That one is a bit taxing. But besides that, I don't have a problem anymore. In Ace Attorney, I have 3 glasses of water, and I I need it because I am literally constantly drinking water in order to do Phoenix right. Because oh my god,
What a voice!
what a voice! But like when I was Lady Love Dies, like I didn't have an issue there.
Mm.
Grimoire's voice wasn't too hard either, but I really, really wanted to be
I'm
someone
telling you,
else's voice.
Oscar, coffee ain't gonna help the throat situation.
It's not gonna help the tired situation. I don't know. Dylan and I recently actually talked about like sounding like a man versus sounding like a
Mhm.
woman, and apparently it's a lot more to do with inflection than anything else.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
So I
absolutely.
was studying how I was listening to how Dylan talked on Ace Attorney. I was very much studying. And it's one of those interesting things. I don't think that I will ever think I sound like a man as Phoenix Wright, but Dylan said I do pretty good. So, you know, I'm okay with
I
that.
would agree with that.
Why, thank you. Because that's one of those things where it's like, it's my voice still, right? So even
Mhm.
editing the videos, right? I'm still like, I don't sound like a man because this is me talking, you know?
Yeah, but
It's just
look
me.
at Naruto. Naruto definitely
Well, that,
doesn't sound like a
but
man
that's the whole
either.
thing. No, no, no. But see, I'm like, yes, I can believe Naruto is a boy, but I can't believe that my own voice is a male voice in any way. And it's just like, I think that's just how it is.
I think you
Unless
also have that level of connection as well, where it's just kind of like, because I know it's me, I will never hear a
yeah,
man's
that's what I'm
voice.
saying, right? I think no matter what, to convince myself of that is obviously the hardest thing. But to convince someone
Oh
else, it's
yeah.
like, you know, if you people who know me and hear my voice at least think that I'm reasonably passing, I'm pretty proud of myself. Because I
I
definitely don't.
I will say I do try to channel my inner Tara Strong when
Yes.
I'm
Oh,
doing
yeah.
the Phoenix Wright voices. Like I want to sound different for each character. I want it to sound as authentic as possible. I realize how much this is damaging my voice.
Aw, no.
Like I am
I don't
living
think
off
you
of
do
throat
it.
lozenges now.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, don't hurt yourself. I think.
Well,
Well, the
it's
Phoenix
not just the
voice.
Phoenix Wright stuff because it's funny, Ori, because you mentioned like in the beginning it was rough on you, but now it's gotten easier. I've kind of had both an easier and hard time because I do a lot of talking during the day, like at my
Yeah.
job and at school. So it's just like constant vocal use all the
I
time.
definitely don't talk very much during the day. Um, there was a period of time before we started streaming where I really didn't talk very much at all because I would just sit at home like an artist
Mhm.
nerd, shut up in my room, and not really talk to many people. So yeah, when we started streaming, especially these comic corner nights when I would talk a lot, it would definitely be like, okay, I can feel my voice getting tired. But I never had the
See,
issue
this
where
this is Ori's social hour, you guys.
oh yeah, I mean, this week in particular, all my like be a person and interact with people IRL fell through this week. So I was extra shut
Oh
in today. Yeah.
no!
Um
Oh.
I was supposed to meet my mom for lunch, but the car
Mhm.
battery had died, so I couldn't go anywhere. Yeah, yeah,
No!
the car
Oh, you're
batteries died.
kidding.
No, so Oscar, the thing is, I'm 100% an extrovert all the time, constantly. But that doesn't mean I want to do things. That means I need to exist with people in my life in the first place. I eat dinner with my
Yeah,
parents every
it
single day.
changes.
You know, to me extrovert is the fact that like I can't go food shopping alone. That's like kill me. You know, I can't clean by myself. That's like kill me. I need to like, in order to do these active things, I need somebody else to exist with me. Honestly, they don't even need to be like doing the thing with me. They just need to be there.
They just need to be present. Like they need to be
like, thankfully,
a
art
presence.
is one of those things where it's like, you know, you can't really do it with someone in the same capacity as most other things, but like besides that, you know, I interact with a lot of people. Someone to compliment my work. I need someone to compliment my work today. I gotta
Ori, it's a very lovely kazoo.
Thank you. I got a backhanded compliment on Instagram today, and I don't think that the person meant anything by it in like actually intending to be mean, but just the
Who
way it came
backhanded you?
across.
I'll talk with them.
No, don't say anything. Don't do it. But you could read the comment, Mars. I sent it to you on Discord. But I was just
oh, is that the one you sent me earlier?
Yeah, slightly early in the
Oh, okay.
I was just like, oof, okay. I need to do good art.
I think I misinterpreted it then. What was I reading?
It's very...
Oh!
There's like what? The second line is like, damn, kill me.
I gotta be honest. I read the first line, and then my brain skipped the middle and moved to the last part.
The second line is the killer line.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And it's like, yes, I think the intention was definitely to be sweet, but the second line is really just like,
I
slap
think the
across
intention was to, like, establish communication and open,
I
like,
don't think it
a
was
dialogue.
Meant to be mean, but that was
but
great.
Oof, guys, if you want me to get SLP on you, the pragmatic skills on this particular tweet, they poor pragmatic skills. Poor pragmatic skills.
Speech language pathologist?
Speech language pathologist. Yes, correct, Ori. 100 points
I got
to
it
you.
right. You feel in peace when you're alone?
Even outside of Wheel of something. Wheel of Wonders? Wheel of Misfortune? Wheel of Chaos?
Wheel of enormous proportions. That's what it is. Wheel of
Thank you. Wheel of somebody help me.
Somebody assist me. No.
Even outside of that, Ori gets points.
But that's why I was like, oh, I'm like looking at my avatar and admiring myself. But no, what was I gonna say? No, I don't think they were intending to be mean. I don't think they were trying to be mean. But God, did it hit? Did it hit? Oof. Not a favorite anymore.
Yeah.
But oh, what was I saying before that? Yeah. I don't think I would ever be able to live alone. That's how definitely extroverted I am. If I lived in a house alone, I think I would go crazy. I don't need a ton of social interaction, but the idea of just living with people and getting to interact with people, and it's like I'm saying, like, I text Dylan all the time, you know, Mars and I, like, just even communicating back and forth like that, like, you know, Dylan calls me on the phone, my mom calls me on the phone, you know, things like that. So it's like, I don't think I need to, I'm definitely not someone that needs it to be in person all the time, but that, like, allotted time to talk with people is the good part. That's why I think editing videos is my least favorite thing, because I literally can do nothing else. Like I can literally not do anything else. At least when I'm doing art, I can listen to something else. I can listen to someone talking. I can talk on the phone with someone. You know, I can do all these other things. But when it's videos, it's like, oh my god. This is the sole focus of my mind the whole time.
Oscar, how did WhatsApp hurt you?
Yeah, what phobia do you have?
What did it do to you?
And why do I scare you? Am I the phobia from WhatsApp? That's concerning. Don't be scared of me. I'm nice. Only Dylan might say otherwise.
Ori is a peach.
See, look at that.
Pink
I've never done anything mean to Mars.
Yeah.
Now, I say Mars specifically.
Let's think about this, guys. As the narrator of her own story, concocting
Oh, are you gonna
this
say I've been mean to you,
narrative,
Mars?
if
What are
you
you not telling
will,
me here?
is she being an unreliable narrator? Dun dun dun!
Ah!
Transitions! We have them!
The segue is real.
The segue is indeed real. Actually, oh my god, the funniest thing about this, I don't know why, this really felt like the universe aligned moment. For whatever reason, before this topic was even a thought, for some reason the other day, I was thinking about The Emperor's New Groove. I don't know why. I hadn't watched it recently.
I mean, good
I
movie.
hadn't even seen a clip on like Instagram or anything. It was just in my mind for some reason.
You watched
And
an
I
Ace Attorney
started,
video, and you saw our little like scroll thing that we do sometimes, and it reminded you.
maybe, I don't know. Maybe there was a connection there. Could be, but for whatever reason, it was on my mind. And I was thinking about the scene where Cusco is in like that swampy rainy area. It's him as the llama, and it's like the second time you see him where he says, "So now you see how it all happened. I'm the victim here." And then he starts talking to himself within the story, uh criticizing himself as the narrator. And I just started thinking about that, like, yeah, that's a really good instance of unreliable narrator. And then the thought was gone. It was just a passing thought. Literally the very next day, OSP uploads a talk about unreliable narrators using that scene as the thumbnail.
Oh my god.
I kid you not. Now it's up to you to decide if I am an unreliable narrator in this situation, because, you know, it depends on the level of trust you're supposed to have in a character, how honest you think they are being in relation to the ideas being narrated and conveyed. A lot of factors can come into play, but there's the backstory to how this whole thing got created.
Comes full circle.
You know, a pastry puff, it's interesting because I did decide on doing unreliable narrator before that video came out. And then I purposefully have not watched it yet because I didn't want anything that I had to say accidentally crossing over with what OSP had to say. So if it does, that'll be one hell of a coincidence. I apologize if it ends up being redundant. But you know, there are facts about unreliable narrators that just it's gonna be restated. It's gonna be repeated. They're usually very good, pastry puff. I listen to them like podcasts when I'm like getting ready in the morning or working on like some homework or something. OSP is great. I love their
Red's
humor.
comic is a big inspiration. Red in general is a big inspiration.
I still need to read their comic.
Oh my god, dude.
I have no time.
Shipping hell.
I have no
Danix
time.
and,
You're lucky that I caught up on Castle Swimmer.
Danix and Faust.
You're lucky I was able to binge Dungeon Meshi.
Yeah, right. I accept Dungeon Meshi.
All right, there we go. Ori's happy. I have appeased.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, I suppose we're at that time. Peace? What peace, Oscar? Peace as in peace sign, or peace as in I'm
peace and love?
Headed out? Peace and love? Vash? Stampede? Peace and love? I am stalling.
Oh, you're stalling. Why are you stalling?
Mostly getting my own thoughts together. Because with unreliable narrator, it feels like a very cut and dry point, right? Like, what is an unreliable narrator? Well, it's a narrator of a story that is not being 100% honest with the audience. Now, from what I've researched, because I did want to look into this, because I'll be honest, I am not one to write about unreliable narrators. Like, I will write about characters who will lie, but the lie is what's happening in the story. Like, there's nothing dubious about the story itself. What a character is saying may be a lie, but the entire story is still true to that reality. So what do I mean by that? There's a very classic instance in a book called Gone Girl, if anyone has ever read that,
That was just in our
where...
thing.
What'd you say?
It was just in Wheel of Enormous Proportions.
Yeah, well, that actually brought to mind. I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good example. I remember that book. But essentially, you spend the first half of the book with the male character who's a husband. And from the way he presents his narrative, the way he talks, you think his wife is dead the entire time. So it comes as a pretty big shock halfway through when all of a sudden his wife takes over the narrative and it switches to her perspective because you thought this whole time she was dead. Turns out it wasn't the whole truth. Now, that from what I can find is more of lie by omission rather than like the character blatantly telling a lie. Like that is kind of more your American Psycho kind of angle, where it's like the character is mad that their entire perception of reality is skewed, so the story itself is skewed. I'm going to read what Pastry Puff said here. I feel like to write an unreliable narrator, you have to revolve a big part of story around the fact they're unreliable. Unless you're specifically trying to write that kind of story, you won't do it. Right, exactly, Pastry Puff. And that's why I don't particularly like it. Because essentially it does change the type of story you're telling. It can work really well in some instances. Like you can, I mean, this is a great way to kind of do like character studies. This trope is practically born for that kind of thing, because if the character is lying to the audience from the get-go, like what does that say about the human condition? What does that say about that character psychologically? It really leads to all of these questions that create a lot of intrigue for the audience, and therefore leads to investment for a lot of people, because there are people who do enjoy this kind of storytelling. I personally don't enjoy writing it, but reading it every once in a while is fascinating because it does take a bit of fine tuning. Like you said, the big part of a story has to revolve around the fact that they're unreliable. So you always kind of got to be careful, like what would this character reveal to the audience? What would they say? I don't know the game Among the Sleep, but I don't particularly care about spoilers. What about you, Ori?
No, I do not care.
Okay, so you have confirmation from us, Pastry Puff. Neither of us mind the spoilers. If anyone in chat minds, chat, this is your warning.
What I wanted to say though is that Mars, do you find that an unreliable narrator has to be intentionally lying to be considered an unreliable narrator? Telling something from your perspective or how you remember it, whether that's wrong or skewed, can do a similar thing.
So, not necessarily. A character doesn't have to be outright lying to the audience to be an unreliable narrator. Sure, that's absolutely one way of doing it, but that's certainly not the only way. Now, some other ways, again, there's the madness unreliable narrator, like that character who's slowly breaking away from reality, kind of becoming a little bit delusional and losing their grip on reality. That kind of character is going to see the world differently and convey it to the audience differently because that's the world they live in. They're not doing it by lying because that world is their truth. But is it the truth of reality? No. But it's also not a lie, because if I were seeing pink elephants in front of me and I tell you, "Oh, I see pink elephants," Like, yes, I'm being unreliable. There are no pink elephants in front of me, but in my mind there are. That's my truth. But from your perspective, you're looking at me like I'm crazy. So it's a little different. There were four others that were mentioned. I did such a quick research of this because I wanted to get the names right. I remember there was the madness version of the Unreliable Narrator, and then sometimes not the full madness, but you ever hear the phrase like when you hear one side of the story? Hey, Lakitu, bro, welcome, welcome. Thank
And
you for
Shadow
joining.
Freak. Hello.
Oh, and Shadow Freak. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. The stream bot is the exact same color. So I didn't see it was two different people. But welcome to you both. Thank you so much for joining us. What on earth was I saying? Oh dear. Two, two, two,
The
two,
madness
two. It'll
one,
come
there's
back
one that's
to me.
not the madness one.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. That jogged my memory. So yes, the madness one where it's like this is the character's reality. Okay, that was my lead-in. All right. So there's the phrase where if you've heard one side of the story, you've only heard one side of the story. Everyone perceives the world around them differently. And this will come down to your past experiences, everything that you've gone through shapes how you perceive and view the world. So, whereas I may look at an interaction, maybe two people are kind of let's say they're debating with each other. And I see like, oh, maybe someone's eyebrows are scrunching, maybe one of their voices raises. To me, I'm going to say, oh, wow, that's a very intense interaction. It looks like they're arguing. Whereas Ori might look at that and say, "Oh, they're just bantering. That's a casual discussion. There's no anger happening there. Why would you think that?" We're watching the same thing, but we're both interpreting it differently. That could be another type of unreliable narrator where you have a character who is almost kind of not stuck in their ways. That's not the phrase I want to use, but they have a certain way of viewing the world that's not related to any kind of mental states is the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes the narrative as well, because now you're seeing things from their perspective. I'm trying to think of a good example of that. That's like
Hold from one character's perspective.
I almost want to say Light Yagami from Death Note, but it's not a perfect example. Maybe I can use the Emperor's New Groove here because
you know what? Megamind.
Oh, Megamind. Okay.
Megamind. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily they frame it that way in the movie, but the idea that, like, you know, he is living how he knew it to be, right? And then he goes and he lives because he thought that what's his name died, that Metro Man actually is dead, you know. So it's like all these sort of things culminate in how he, like, they show how he was grown up, you know. His right from wrong is skewed, you know, how all of his things, his whole thing with being that weird kid in school, right? So he's not necessarily
and that pushed him to view his life as villainy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those sort of things.
It's interesting because that's almost a narrative happening within the story that's affecting the character, kind of less so the audience.
Yeah, gaslit.
Well,
into living.
That's a good way of describing it.
Well, there's two ways to do it, right? There's the way where, you know, Mars talked about, like, when you get eyewitnesses in law, in all that sort of stuff Dylan always talks about. The memory is one of the most unreliable things. And so
literally.
Just the fact that you have, I mean, we had an example in chat. I know, for me, my truth is that I talked with Dylan about automatons before the other day. I know this for a fact. I know I brought them up. I just made my seat lower without meaning to, and that startled me. And I fixed
But
it.
can we believe that?
However,
We only
Dylan
have your word.
100% believes that he just found out automatons by himself on his own just the other day. I don't think either of us are intentionally trying to deceive either one of them, and neither of us are diagnosed with any sort of, hallucinating, crazy, mental thing. So it is just the fact that we remember it differently, and there, and mathematically one of us is right, there's no question about that, but we'll never know because there's no way of knowing, right? I don't have a recording of every moment and every interaction I've ever had with Dylan, and neither does he, so we'll never know. And that's just one of those examples like that. Having that, anything told specifically solely from one character's perspective could technically debate, depending on how it's done, have this sort of eyewitness bias, I guess, going on. Well, that actually leads into another question, Mars, is that unreliable narrators that don't necessarily have to be the actual narrator of the story.
Can you think of an example?
I find this happens a lot. Sort of anyone that's trying to deceive the main character, right? It usually happens a lot with gullible characters, right? Trying to trick a character into doing something evil by not telling them the whole truth, or twisting the facts in a certain way to manipulate someone, and those sort of things.
My mind immediately went to the Terra arc from Teen Titans.
Yeah, that's a good one. Slade would be to Terra an unreliable narrator, right? They're not that he is not the narrator of the show Teen Titans, but the reason that Terra is evil in the end, essentially, is because of the way that he talked to her about it, and specifically manipulated the facts.
Yeah, I would say that's a good instance of unreliable narrator manipulating the plot within the story, but not necessarily to the audience, because we kind of see through it the whole time. Like, we know, okay, this character is telling a lie. We know they don't have good intentions doing this. But then what about an instance where, the narrator makes the audience go along with their lie for a while? This is where I was thinking about The Emperor's New Groove the other day. So that, honestly, one of the really good examples of unreliable narrator, but also a really good example of using the unreliable narrator to fuel character growth, which is very rare with this archetype. Like, with the unreliable narrator, it is very easy to have changes in the plot, changes, maybe between characters, like their dynamic and relationship, but very rarely does an unreliable narrator trigger character growth. So what do I mean by that? Let me give an example. With The Emperor's New Groove, it starts out with Kuzco narrating his life. Like, right from the beginning, he's showing his baby photos, he's going back in time, he's saying, let me take you back to where this all started, blah 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 blah, and then you'll understand. And he's very arrogant about it in his presentation. He's very much like, yes, I'm the llama, I'm the victim, let me go back and take you through the story. So the narrative kind of follows that perspective. We are seeing the story from Cusco's perspective the whole time. And we see how he was turned into a llama. We see how he treats the people around him. But the story is very egocentric in the beginning. It centers around him. It isn't until he turns into a llama that the narrative kind of starts to involve a little more of Yzma, a little more Kuzco. We cut to Pacha in his village with his family, and we start to see more characters come into the picture. And this keeps developing throughout the movie. So for those of you who haven't seen the movie, there is a moment where much later on, the main character has a falling out with his friend, and he runs off, and this brings us back to the very first scene that the movie started with him as a llama in the jungle, and then he, as the narrator, comes back where he says, "So now you know how it all went. That's right, I'm the victim here." As soon as he says, "I'm the victim," the Cusco we see on screen as the llama asks him, "Hey, would you give it a rest? Would you stop?" So this is doing a couple interesting things. One, it's very clearly breaking the fourth wall. That is already kind of trippy because you have a character within the story talking to himself who's narrating the story. This is the only example I can think of where this has been done, but it works very effectively because him as the narrator is still insisting that he was the victim, but him in the story has been with the other characters, has grown, has seen like what they value, and now his values have changed. And he tells the egocentric narrator, "Hey, give it a rest. They saw the whole thing, they know what happened." There's a little bit of double meaning dialogue going on. He's not just saying, "Yeah, they know I'm the victim." He's saying, "They saw everything. They know I was mean. They know I was uncaring. Like, they know I'm a horrible person. Just leave me alone." And then the scene ends. It is really brilliantly handled. And it's the only instance I can think of where unreliable narrator is used in that way to actually further character growth. It's honestly very fascinating. And if anyone could think of another example like that, I would absolutely love to know it. Because more examples like this, please. Like, this is some tight writing.
So bringing sort of back, Pastry Puff wrote about the game they were talking about, and
Yes, I
essentially,
need to go back and read that.
well, essentially the very basics is that it is a child, and you are playing the child running away from a monster, and what it turns out to be at the end is that it's actually the mother was the monster all along, and it is shown from this child's perspective where to my understanding, it doesn't seem like the child wants it to be the mom. The mom is has given it this bear that is helping it and everything like that. But it is the father who is that helping and everything like that. And so, sort of this monster that the game doesn't show you is the mother, right? Until the very end, where it sort of reveals this fact, and that's sort of told by the way that this child is seeing, right? You know, especially in such a traumatic experience of this, you know, very angry divorce, it seems, between mother and father. Sort of that's an unreliable narrator. You playing the game through the essentially the eyes of this child.
Through the eyes of the child.
Yeah, you don't know until they reveal it at the end.
And that can be super fun, right? When you have a different kind of character depending on like age or really anything, because when you concoct a story, you're seeing the world through their eyes, you're seeing how they see everything. And I see a lot of video games do that, especially with child characters. That's a fantastic example. I can also think of, if anyone knows Edith Finch, that's another great example of a video game unreliable narrator. Um, for those of you who don't know, with Edith Finch, there's a curse surrounding the family. None of the Finch family like live long lives. They all die very early. And I think it's great grandmother or maybe just grandmother, concocts stories around their deaths. And they're like these grandiose, fantastic stories. Like,
dang,
this girl turned into a cat and then died. This other child was thought they could fly and flew off the swing near the cliff. There's another story about a girl being ripped to pieces by a monster. And throughout the story, like, it's never spelled out, but you kind of start to put together like, oh, the curse isn't like this fantastical thing. Like, these are kind of cover stories in a way. Like, this is not what really happened here.
I think a lot of horror games do
Oh,
it.
okay.
I think it's very common in horror games. Another one I remember is Little Misfortune,
Oh, I never played that one. What was
I never
that
played
one?
it either. I've seen it on Thing because it has a lot of wild stuff that goes on. But I saw like a breakdown of it once, and essentially there is literally a disembodied narrator voice that is talking to the little girl you are playing, and
Creepy.
she
Lovely.
is. I don't remember what she's exactly trying to do. She's trying to help her mom, or she's trying to do something. I don't know. Turns out that the voice is actually a demon trying to get her to end her own life because her mother's already dead. And it's very
Ah,
dark in that way. Correct me if I'm wrong about the whole thing, Pastry Puff, but basically, the actual definite narrator is a demon that is trying to have her do bad things, specifically. Again, I never actually played the game, so Pastry Puff, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, another specifically narrator being specifically unreliable.
And again, that's the fun thing about unreliable narrators, because you can really explore the human condition with them.
Oh, Lakitu saying, can't think of something specifically like Cusco, but Walter White in Breaking Bad comes close. Season 4 finale tricks the audience by making you think he was more in the right than the people he's up against, but there's a final shot that show he poisoned a kid to convince someone to be on his side, and the following season shows both his indecent to cruelty
Descent.
and descent. I'm sorry, his descent into cruelty and what he's facing.
So they were definitely playing the long
girl
game
is
there.
Dead. That's what it was, Pastry Puff. That's what it was. The girl is dead. That's the twist. The girl is already dead, and this is like her soul.
Yeah, they're definitely playing the long game there, Lakitu bro. I watched the first season of Breaking Bad, and then I didn't really come back to it. I don't really know why. I just don't think it held my interest very well.
We're not live action people.
It takes a lot to convince me to watch live action.
I don't know what it is specifically, but I am just not a live action person.
Here's what I figured out.
Oh yeah? You figured it out? You got the secrets for me?
I like Good Omens.
Yeah.
I like Our Flag Means Death.
Oh, yes.
I like Warehouse 13.
Never watched it.
Maybe take Warehouse 13 out of the equation, but between Good Omens and Our Flag Means Death, I like live action people acting like cartoon characters.
I guess that's it, yeah.
And gay. And gay. Very gay.
I mean, that is a big part of it. But the other thing is...
Come on, David Tennant, practically a living cartoon. He's amazing.
Like, I have seen a lot of, like, the jokes from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? Like I've seen a lot of the jokes from it. Dylan really wanted to watch it, and we were watching, we watched a couple episodes, and it's like, I don't think it's a bad show. Like, it has its moments, and I think the clips I've seen before are funny, and the memes and the jokes and everything, but I just can't sit there and watch it. I don't know, it's just not for me, and they're goofy though, like Peralta's
it's also
goofy.
One of those things where it's like better in small doses. I feel like I will watch live action stuff if it's in like 15-second clips on like Insta or something. But if I were like sitting down and watching a 45-minute show, no.
Yeah.
I very rarely watch stuff that's actually an hour. And if it is more, it's a movie. It's an anime movie usually.
Dylan liked Better Call Saul, Lakitu. Dylan likes live action. He is a guy that and the other thing is, like, I don't have a problem with, I like action movies that are live action. Like, I enjoyed, very much the earlier waves of Marvel movies, 100%. The most recent Spider-Man and Doctor Strange were great. I love Mission Impossible incredibly much, and other spy movies. I enjoy Bond and things like that. But for whatever reason, I am just not here for, like, I guess maybe it's sitcoms. Maybe it's specifically sitcoms, right? Would you say that like things like The Office and like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, those are sitcoms, wouldn't they be? I feel like that's
probably that would be the category.
Like, grouped into, right? Where I don't think Our Flag Means Death is not a sitcom. It's a rom-com. Oh, no. Right?
It's a rom-com.
And Good Omens...
Full on.
I don't even know. Is Good Omens a rom-com?
It's kind of a rom-com from what I hear of season 2.
It
I
gets
think we get a kiss in season 2, so
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
then
let's
I'm also
fucking
told that
go.
the angel like loses all his character growth and people are very upset, so I'm like a little scared.
Uh, that's upsetting.
At the end, yeah, I'm like a little scared about the end, so we'll see. But yeah, so maybe I'm just not a sitcom person. Maybe that's it. If unless it's animated, because I can do like Futurama. Futurama was fun, but I guess it's so zany that it's like, goes beyond or something. Who knows?
Well, they continue to push the boundaries because animation is all about what you can't do in live action.
Yeah.
You can have more exaggerated faces. You can have grander stakes because you can draw whatever the hell you want and you
And
don't
you
have to
can
worry
be in
about it looking
space
uncanny
with goofy
because it
aliens.
all exists on the same plane.
Yeah, so I guess that's my whole thing. I am just not a sitcom person because I like The Witcher. I like, Our Flag Means Death and Good Omens and everything like that.
I know
It
you
is
liked
literally
The
just
Mandalorian for a
Yeah.
while.
Again, that's action though, right? That's action.
Yeah.
I love those sort of things. So that's it. It's just live action has to be actual action or a really good gay rom-com because the straight rom-coms are concerning sometimes.
The straight rom-coms I watch and I'm just
really
like,
good.
oh, no wonder we have such a toxic society.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it all makes sense.
Indeed.
Chat, if you have any questions about writing, about art, related to our unreliable narrator topic, or unrelated,
topic.
anything at all, please feel free.
We're just vibing at this point. It's
yeah,
a chill
I'll be
day.
honest. I feel like my mileage has kind of run with the unreliable narrator.
I asked my questions.
Well, you've asked your 3 questions. Genie out. um, but no, unreliable narrator. It's very interesting to talk about, and it is a subject that can definitely be delved into. But it's also one of those weird topics that is also kind of a little on the cut and dry side, because you kind of, when you know it's an unreliable narrator, you know what you're going to get. I am going to get a narrative that I cannot 100% trust because the narrator is untrustworthy. Now, the intrigue there is how long it takes you to figure it out. That's where it gets interesting. But as far as like how much mileage does the actual concept get, it can vary. It can definitely vary. I feel like once people figure out it's an unreliable narrator, a lot of the time their reaction becomes, okay, I can't trust anything that's being said anymore. Which I feel like is kind of giving the trope a little bit of a, like, that's harsh, because you can do a lot more with it. You can explore character dynamics. You could do a character study. You can look, this is the buzzword for tonight, apparently. You can look at the human condition and really do some commentary on, that status and the status of society and stuff like that. But I feel like with the unreliable narrator trope, at least for, your average viewer, they look at that and their immediate reaction is, oh, I can't trust anything that's told to me anymore. Like, the story is kind of bullshit now because nothing is truthful. So what am I supposed to get out of this? It feels like a double-edged sword. It definitely works on some levels. But then on others,
yes, I agree, Laka, too.
The audience doesn't always think to look deeper.
Good unreliable narrators should throw you off, but you should be able to see the signs when you rewatch or reread or consume.
Yes.
I think
that is a brilliant way of summing it up, essentially. Because there's also kind of an element of you almost agree with them at first. Like, maybe you do think, oh yeah, Cusco is the victim until you get to that one scene. I remember watching video essays on American Psycho, and there were people who kind of sided with the main character for the majority of that story, which is a whole other topic and deeply concerning.
But a little
Um,
kind of the
but
point.
you see, but you kind of see where the idea comes from. It's like people are on board for the story being told to them, and they do fall for the narrator's lies. Essentially, they are gaslit.
So, a really good place that you need to use unreliable narrators, I think this is very important, is when you are a DM for any tabletop RPG. I'm not joking, because it can be very hard. It can be very hard for you as the narrator to purposefully decide to give false evidence and things to the party, to be a character that is specifically lying, because you want everybody to be helpful. And if you're if you were a player, you want your NPCs, the NPCs to be helpful. You don't want to have to think about it, but it's very important to do that whole thing. Oh, we're getting Ace Attorney stuff. It's one flashback.
Ooh.
A case that turned in Ace Attorney Investigations, where we see how Edgeworth's character was like before his character development in the first Ace Attorney. I trust Pastry Puff like it too. Everybody here, I feel pretty confident, knows our desire to not do spoilers. I don't even know Line Guy's name, because Pastry Puff is being very kind about spoilers.
Particularly with Ace Attorney.
Ooh. Well, we'll have fun with that. We do have a little bit until investigation, so there's a high chance that I will forget about it beforehand anyway to even think about it. But that's very interesting. I will definitely be excited to see the backstory for that dude. It's going to, I think investigations are going to be hilarious for stream, solely because it's literally going to be Dylan talking to himself over and over again, which I think will honestly be absolutely hilarious.
My favorite aspect is just like Phoenix has the Magatama. I know Apollo has some kind of bracelet that's a lie detector. Athena is an empath. What is Edgeworth's power? Logic.
Which is Dylan's favorite thing. There's
he
a
has
reason
a
Dylan
goddamn
loves
brain. No one else in the Ace Attorney series can have a brain. Edgeworth has the brain.
Edgeworth has the brain. And he ain't sharing any brain cells.
No. He's like, I'm sorry. Oh, these brain cells are for me?
They're for me and me alone. What the heck?
I would love to see that instance of Unreliable Narrator. That sounds brilliant.
I'm definitely excited for investigations.
Well, Ori, it's going to be you and I playing a lot of the side characters for
Almost
him,
all the
so
side characters, yeah. It'll be a very different experience.
Who's going to play Gumshoe?
Dylan!
Oh,
That's why it's him talking to himself. We can't give Gumshoe to somebody else. One, I think Dylan would literally strangle me. And two, it just can't be done. It just can't be done. He's our boy. He's the boy. So it's just, Dylan literally gets to play no other characters after that. You know what I'm saying?
I see.
It'll be like us, right?
It's going to be interesting during the investigation sections.
It'll be like how I only get to play maybe one character every once in a while that's not Phoenix. Just because I'm talking the whole time. Like, I get voice lines all the time. That's going to be Dylan. Dylan just gets no side characters now. And he's solely Edgeworth and Gumshoe like 99% of the time, unless there's a character where he's like, oh my god, this has to be me, or oh my god, we need this character to be Dylan. So it's gonna be a fun ride. No
side characters for you.
No, exactly. No side characters for Dylan. It is a bit difficult though, because that means it does tie up our sole manly voice. But we'll get by. We'll live through it, I guess.
It'll be okay. If everyone has put up with our kind of sort of guy voices for this long, I think.
Well, you got a lot of practice with Paradise Killer, so.
Hell yeah!
I did enjoy your Yuri voice a lot. That one I think was my favorite one of the ones you did.
Fuck, I don't even remember my Yuri voice.
It was like
you know
southern,
what I was doing?
like annoyed man.
Okay, literally what I was doing with that voice, I kind of made my face look like the one he had, but I also talked out of the side of my mouth.
Disgust.
Like, I talked out of the side of my mouth specifically just to get that kind of like...
You like the Dr.
drawl
Oscar?
Almost.
Dr. Doom Jazz. My favorite guy voice that Mar did for Paradise Killer was Yuri. He was the best one, I think. Like, as a guy voice specifically. I just enjoyed it. It was so different. You know, Doom Jazz and
break.
Yeah, exactly. I like that too much. Exactly.
Yep. You gotta talk out of the side of your mouth for that one.
It's okay. I'm not upset about it. I get to be Apollo Justice. Dylan doesn't want to be Apollo Justice, so I get to be Apollo Justice and Phoenix in Dual Destinies, so that's a whole ride.
That'll be fun.
But yeah.
I call Athena.
Yeah, well, yes. It's just kind of how it works. Dylan's gonna be the blonde-haired dude, which honestly I'm ready and I am here for. I don't know his name, but I'm very ready.
With the updated avatar. Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. He gets that outfit and everything. I'm very excited. That's the one thing I dislike about being Phoenix, is solely that it's like I don't get cool outfit changes every game. You know, Dylan and Mars each have had 2 outfits and I only have 1.
It's okay, Phoenix gets a suit upgrade.
Yeah, he gets a vest. That's it, and I will get to be...
He does get a vest, but it's a hella good vest.
Oh, it's a good vest. It's a good vest. And I will get to be Apollo, you know, so that's a different outfit too.
More vests.
More vests. More vests. I'm invested. But mathematically, you and Dylan will always have more costumes than me. Oh, I don't even know which one will be Spectacular Pastry Puff, but I think they'll all be spectacular. Actually, I think technically, we'll have the same... You'll have the most outfits overall, Mars.
Oh yeah, between Paradise Killer and Tangle Tower.
Not even that. I'm saying just for Ace Attorney games, because none of words. Dylan doesn't get a new outfit for investigations because Edgeworth just has his Edgeworth outfit. Right. Well, you and I will
live in that outfit,
right? So you've gotten a new outfit for every game plus Emma. Well, technically, you didn't get a new outfit for this current game. You got Emma instead.
New outfit for this.
You got Emma instead.
Yeah.
So you got Emma.
We did decide that Pearl's outfit was close enough to Emma's.
Pearl's outfit is literally
not Emma, Maya's.
Exactly the same as Maya's. And if you guys don't know, I don't use the colors from the character in the game. I use the outfit from the character in the game, and then I use our character's colors. So Mars was just purple by default. It wasn't because Maya was purple. Maya could have been any color, and Mars still would have been purple. So
it worked out very well.
She literally, the only difference between Maya and Pearl's outfit is the hairstyle, which I wasn't going to change for Mars anyway. She has a bun just because that's Mars's outfit, not because, Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm so ready, Pastry Puff, for that. I'm very excited for that.
That's gonna be a good time.
I'm also really excited for Dylan to be Godot. Damn, no, Dylan's gonna get another outfit because he gets to be Godot next game. And there's still Maya. So Dylan and you will be tied for most outfits, I think. By the end, Mars. I'll always have less outfits.
Poor Ori.
It's alright.
We really owe her some outfits, you guys.
It's fine. I got outfits with the other games. It's fine.
You have a moving avatar, and Dylan doesn't.
Vast majority of the time. Yeah, but honestly, that doesn't psych him at all. Honestly, he didn't want to be Franziska. in like an
Francisca
outfit.
by bullying.
He missed being Edgeworth. Well, it was one of those things where it was just like he just loves Edgeworth, right? So I think at any time he's going to miss being Edgeworth, no matter what.
See, as far as we knew, Edgeworth was dead.
Yeah, I know.
Phoenix was a very unreliable narrator in that instance. We believed Edgeworth was dead thanks to him.
Yeah. Thanks to Edgeworth. Edgeworth is the one who said the note. Jeez.
Well, Edgeworth is the one who covered his trails. So Phoenix is an unreliable narrator, not through his own fault.
Yeah.
Simply because he didn't have all the pieces.
Exactly. Look at that.
How's that for an unreliable narrator? The unreliable narrator that doesn't mean to be, but ends up being because they just don't have all the information.
But I do like Dylan's outfit for Francisca, so I'm happy that he...
Oh, the puff sleeves. Top tier.
It was so good. It was very good. Top tier stuff.
Top tier.
Top tier stuff. Okay.
Oh my god, I'm so tired.
Yes. This is my spite art because I like how it looks. That's how it works.
That aspect of Phoenix. What aspect, Lakitu, the unreliable narrator
not
bit,
getting
or something
outfits?
else?
The not having all the pieces? The not having all the pieces, maybe?
I feel like that's every case. Like, we always don't have all the pieces until, like, the third day where we put it all together.
My poor stressed boy. He needs a break. He needs to go on a cruise. He needs to relax. Unreliable narrator?
It definitely shines through in this current case because, Lakitu, if you think about it, Phoenix is actually being an unreliable narrator in the court when he accused, Adrian? No.
Yeah, Adrian.
Yes? Adrian. Why do I always think that's not her name?
I don't know. You're weird.
I guess so. Anywho. Yeah, he constructed, well, not technically a false narrative, because at the time, I think he did believe it, if I remember correctly. But
I mean, it really looked like she killed him. I believe she killed him, but, you know.
He fed certain bits of information to the court to make it look like she did it.
I'm happy that while maybe if Phoenix wasn't controlled by game, he might not have, taken the higher road and not accused Andrews in the end. I'm glad that when we play the game, Phoenix has a slightly higher moral standard than Edgeworth. You know, I feel like that's the foil.
Worried about that. Like, I was actually on the edge of my seat, like, is Phoenix actually going to break its promise?
But I couldn't do it. I'm gonna be so... It's gonna be wild, because if Matt Ungard is actually guilty, which at this point we're like 99% sure he actually is guilty, but we don't 100% know.
No one can be that stupid.
Okay, I mean, I feel like he is that stupid, because why would he send us to his house if the killer was there? Or something like that. So, there's like, I don't know. But that'll be the first case that we ever have where our defendant actually is guilty. And that's the actual thing
that's a twist from the series.
Yeah, but it is more like realistic life of a defense attorney. Is you have to defend everybody vehemently, whether or not you even, know they're guilty or not.
Yeah.
So it's pretty rough. So I'm curious.
Talk about unreliable narrators.
Exactly. I'm very curious to see where the game goes because of that. Because if they do indeed go the route of Matt actually is the actual person who hired Shelly to kill her, it's like, dang. But I feel like if it's just an act of being that stupid, he's going way far.
But if it is, think how good that breakdown is gonna be.
I hope it's good.
It
Line me
won't
ahead
be
in the
like
first case,
Gant. It
where we
can't
have
be.
to
Hopefully they
believe.
learned their lesson.
Well, Gant technically came after this game when they made it, so Gant didn't exist when they made this game.
Thank God.
It's interesting going back and watching Gant again. Because we're
I'm
in
just
there.
being flooded with these memories watching those older videos, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of why this case felt like a very slow burn. Because it's like the last 3 episodes you've uploaded have literally just been that fucking Blue Badger video. I was like, wow, they dragged this one out.
There's
Like,
a lot of Blue Badger.
they had the technology, and it seems like they were proud to have the technology and the graphic capability to have that video surveillance scene.
Exist.
They were way too proud of it. They were way too proud of it.
We might be getting video footage though in this new one with the camera in the bear's eyes, so I don't know, like, you know, I don't know.
I'm okay with that if it's not so slow.
My biggest thing
like
about,
if they don't rewind it a million times and then let the entire thing play.
that was a lot.
That was not necessary.
My biggest thing with Rise from the Ashes being slow is the fact every other case, by time we're in final investigation, we're like now just trying to get the actual murderer.
We know who it is.
Right? We either know who it is and we're just trying to pin it on them, or we're like, we know everything but exactly who it is. You know, no, we know who it is. Right? We knew it was D, we found out it was D, we knew it was, you know, we knew it was Red White all along, and we knew it was, Mimi Miney, right? We knew it was, Acro, all these sort of things. Right, and then it was just putting the pieces together about how they did it, right? And that was good, because that is very true, Lakitu.
Yeah.
They really didn't need, and it was just the fact, like, it was very slow. The pan was so agonizingly slow. It could have been like 2 times speed and we would have been okay.
That's why I'm saying they were way too proud of the graphical capabilities of the DS. They did not need to play that a million times.
And not even just that, Pastry Puff. The whole fact about Edgeworth's dream makes him an unreliable narrator in that whole thing, because you are led to believe along with Edgeworth that he is the actual killer, and the game has to tell you, the viewer, who they know is thinking like, oh shit, Edgeworth really did this, because we were thinking that. We were just like, he can't go to jail, this is ridiculous, why would he go to jail, he didn't actually murder anybody.
Ori, literally the whole time you were like, it was years ago, he was a child, let it go.
He was a child and it was an accident. Like, he would not, in real court, he would not be prosecuted if he did what the dream said he did, right? And so they literally have to have
circumstantial evidence.
Phoenix to be like, hey, no, I believe in you that you weren't guilty at all, and then we find out that he isn't, and everything like that. So that's pretty wild. Yeah, this case is a wild ride. Turnabout, farewell my turnabout. It's pretty nuts. We're getting, like, Edgeworth character growth as well, which I'm like, come on, can we, what did you find out while you were away and everybody thought you were dead?
Apparently he went on a journey of soul searching.
Yeah.
Could have told us that his soul was still on this planet.
Yeah, why did you have to act like you were dead, Edgeworth? That's the part I don't understand. You could have just been on vacation.
Prosecutor Edgeworth chooses death. No, he wrote that.
Yeah, I know.
He wrote Edgeworth chooses death.
I know. He could have just been on vacation.
Why did he choose that?
Why did he decide to do that?
Why did he use the phrase death? Why did he make it look like an unalive note?
Unalivement.
Unalive.
What the hell? Why is this not... Okay.
What the hell, indeed. But yeah, when you think about it, Ace Attorney is actually a prime example for Unreliable Narrator. And I thank you all for bringing that to my attention. It honestly didn't even cross my mind Because honestly, the game works it in pretty naturally.
Well, also you're all caught up with thinking like all of the people on the stand, right, are unreliable narrators, because they are, because that's what you're doing. You're finding contradictions. You're finding all of these, hiccups in
Oh,
their
well,
thing and everything.
everyone's an unreliable narrator by default. Like, they're lying, they're telling half-truths, and it's your job to uncover them. Otherwise, there would be no game.
Yeah, I will say, Lakitu, I see what you're saying with that. Especially by how mean he was to Adrian as well. Like overall, with that he sort of had. I can see what you're saying. Where he sort of had a moment of actually like debating, which is like, ugh, but understandable when your literal like father figure, wanted you dead, and killed your father. I can understand being in a dark place.
But at least your sister is not horrible.
I don't remember what the cutscene is for. See that. While I see what you're saying, Pastry Puff, the one with Turnabout Samurai was kind of vague. The cutscene was kind of vague. It was literally just like a scene from the show, but I guess it did kind of imply. But we weren't sure who screamed and who was who. With the fight near the end. Because
that was kind of the whole point with the case, and that's what we had.
But then Pastry Puff is right, where like then they show Edgeworth literally holding a gun after this whole exchange.
Yeah.
Like, oh god.
But let's be honest, Edgeworth looked absolutely petrified. So I think that kind of clued us into something's up.
Yeah.
Why would he look so scared after that if he just did that deed? Like, sure, you can have remorse, but that did not look like a face of remorse. That looked like a face of what the actual fuck just happened.
Which it's true, because if you were there and a dude came with a gun at you, shot it at the water twice, and then fell off the back of the boat, I too would look like, what the fuck?
You'd probably be like, what the hell?
I too would look like, what
Maybe
the
you
fuck?
wouldn't reach forward and pick up a gun
I don't think I would ever pick up a gun.
Shock does strange things to a person.
Yeah. But, Edgeworth has those, like, those investigative, instincts. That's what I'm going with, right? He just...
Yeah, but the logic abandoned him on this one.
Well, he went to investigate. Hey, it's not like Phoenix wears gloves or anything,
That is very true. It is amazing that Phoenix's fingerprints aren't all over the damn crime scene.
One of my favorite re-edits to do is, so I do enjoy that I get to edit the video again, after months after. Like, I kind of like how far back the backlog of videos upload compared to stream is, because I get to, like, fully remember how it all goes, right? I obviously haven't forgotten everything, but, like, it is sort of like oh, I forgot about this, or I forgot, like, this is how it happened, or things like that. But my favorite thing to re-edit is the redirects, right? Obviously, we only have one right now, but the redirect where it's essentially Ace Attorney out of context, right? And so I did it with Turnabout Sisters, and it's just 13 minutes of us being chaotic and silly. And those are honestly my favorite things to edit. Because it's watching... I have rewatched that specific video, the Turnabout Sisters redirect, multiple times. I have not rewatched another video outside of editing and once with Dylan, because I watched every video with Dylan after fully edited it, and I get to see all the mistakes I made during the video, and tamp
how
that
many
deep down.
misclicks are we up to?
God, that I don't even know. I'm talking about the editing mistakes that I make.
Oh, you mean the misspells and things?
Misspells, and when, like, the color of the text is wrong, or something didn't go black and white when it should have, or the wrong scene changes there, and I just have to accept it to myself that 1, I'm not getting paid to do this, and 2, I have watched this video 80 bajillion fucking times by the time it goes out, and I just like, ugh. It's option A. Yeah, that was the worst one, Oscar. Yes, present the this. Oh, you presented the shoe again? What? What I did? Oh my god. Terrible.
Yes, you did!
That is true, Lakitu. That is true. But I still, you know, and this is one of those things where you can literally never know how you would act until you're in a situation like that. But, you know, the picking up of the gun, it's like, I barely want to touch a gun in the first place. Personally, you know? It sounds concerning. What if it's still loaded? Who knows? I don't know how to fire a gun.
What if you're accused of a crime you didn't commit? Just don't do it.
Oh my god, you want to know
Not
the
worth
best
it.
story about like a funny false false conviction? It wasn't a true conviction. It was a really funny thing. There was a I'm trying to remember exactly how it works out. Oh, I'm not gonna remember it now. It was like a whole thing. It was like a whole thing where it was like a wallet fell out of like a parachuter's like back pocket and landed in the trunk of a car that was like carrying drugs. Right? He was.
Oh my god.
He parachuted out of a plane for fun. And I'm pretty sure is what happened. His wallet with his ID and everything fell out of his pocket. And he was, you know, he's just kind of accepted that, like, I've lost that, right? It's gone. Move on. Turns out it fell into the trunk of a car that was ferrying, like, drugs across state lines or something like that. And when the car got drug busted, they also tracked down and arrested this parachuter whose wallet was found at the scene of the crime. And they had to do this whole this is real. I might be getting the things wrong, but I have to remember exactly how to parachuters wallet wrongful conviction. Maybe I can find it. Parachute is wrong. Hey man, deliberately. No. I was told in a news literacy class.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm not gonna be able to find it. But it was essentially like a case that, like, yes, sometimes it is coincidence, right? And he managed to prove, like, his, like, where he was and, you know, all this sort of stuff that he couldn't be doing it. But it was just one of those things where it was like, god damn, universe really hated that guy. Really didn't like that guy.
Oof. When even the universe is against you. Ouch.
Just a book. I see. Don't know the name. Limited supplies. Where people are disappearing. The bodies are being taken to NPC. This started out like a book I thought I knew, and then it turned very quickly into a book I do not know. But that's fine.
Yeah, I was following for a second, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't think I'm familiar with this one actually.
Well, I was like, oh, I think I know what book you're talking about, and then immediately you're like, the next message, I was like, oh, no I don't. No, I do not.
Definitely not.
I should really be working on the comic and not this if I want to keep my pace.
Backlog. That good old backlog.
But this is also for me because, you know, my birthday's at the end of August, so I get to draw my character once for me.
You're gonna gift yourself a tarot?
Of course I am.
All the power to ya.
I gift myself one at Christmas time too.
Oh.
Otherwise, when would my characters be drawn, Mars?
That is very true.
If I don't draw them, who will? No one.
That's true. None of us are as good as you. I mean, we try because we love and care about you, but they look awful.
Alright. What the? Oh. Sometimes the colors are too similar to each other, and my brain goes brrr, and then reboots, and then I remember. Oh, yes.
Similar to Ready Player One. I never read that book. I saw
never
the
read the book. I
movie.
saw the movie.
The movie was cute.
Movie was a fun ride, no questions. I
Yeah.
don't pay very much attention to movie plot and possible changes. You know, I just enjoy movies 99% of the time. So
I will say, based on what I have heard, again, this is what I have heard. I have not read the book myself, so I cannot confirm. I heard the main character was kind of not the best in the original book, especially with the way he acted toward the love interest. And I heard they changed that in the movies, so it's like, good choice. Although, I gotta say, in the movie, God, talk about my quote unquote favorite trope, where it's like the person is hiding their true identity. They're like, oh, you'll like me better as the avatar, I'm way prettier. And then in real life, like, they're still Hollywood hot, but they have like one pimple on their nose, or they have one scratch on their forehead. It's like, oh, the horror, such hideousness, get it out of my sight. Like, that's one of my favorite tropes, just because it's so stupid.
Cinder at least was playing Baldur's Gate. I don't know if he is anymore.
Baldur's Gate finished downloading.
Beautiful.
I have it now.
Done it. You need to go and update your graphics card driver, according to Dylan.
Oh, on Acer?
On the computer he gave you.
Oh, okay. I'll have to figure out how to do that.
You should be able to go to, like, control panel or settings or whatever and, like, look for updates. And it's the GeForce one.
Okay.
I don't know. He says that it was my homework, but he acts like I know that much more.
Don't worry. I'll email the professor over the weekend and find out.
You'll do what? Who?
I'll email the professor over the weekend and find out how to do it. Because you said homework.
He told me it's my homework.
Yeah, but if you don't understand the homework, you have to email the professor.
The professor is the one who told me how to do the homework, and he told me how to do it, and I'm just really freaking lazy.
Well, you did the homework, and now I need an extra tutoring session. This metaphor really got away from me.
But if you ask the professor, he's gonna be mad at me. Because it was my job.
But you did your job. I just didn't understand it.
Yeah, that. See, Oscar says it right. The NVIDIA stuff.
Ah, I see.
Just don't know where it is. And I don't know how to tell you to get there.
That reminds me of the character from Chowder.
Cinnamon.
I think it's Schnitzel.
Oh, Schnitzel?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Schnitzel. I think you're right.
Who's Cinnamon?
I thought Cinnamon, I might just be having a conniption. You know, who knows?
Oh, alright then.
I think someone is Cinnamon. Click on the Windows button and type in NVIDIA. Oh, look, Oscar's helping you out. How nice.
Thank you, Oscar.
Look, there's your tutor. It's Oscar.
Brilliant.
Amazing. The hero that we need. It's named NVIDIA Experience. Fancy.
Oh, fancy.
The NVIDIA Experience.
Speaking of books that we were reading, I am currently reading The Song of Achilles. Ugh, pain. And it's not gonna get better.
Yeah, there's a reason that I'm like, not gonna do that one.
That's like, it's great and it's really well written. It is so well written. Like, it somehow has very little detail, but you have a clear understanding of everything that's going on. it's a really fascinating writing style. I want to study this
Okay, Mars, then you
because it.
sign in,
Okay,
and then you click quick install.
I see. Click quick, click quick, click quick. Aha, I did it.
Done, get scared. It's normal to the screen.
I think that's don't
Don't
get
get
scared.
scared.
Or
The screen may blink when you upload the graphics card.
don't
Okay.
get scared.
Don't get scared. I thought you were saying, like, it's done!
La
Now
la
get
ha,
scared!
you're gonna
Because
don't
if
get
you screwed it
scared.
up, then you're screwed.
You're gonna don't get scared when I get my hands on you and you don't return my camera.
Lotta, why? Lotta, please leave me alone. I don't want your damn camera.
Then why don't you give it back?
Because I never had it in the first place.
Yeah.
No.
Isn't it
This is-
Lakitu, bro? I never realized we had
This is
such great service.
Yeah. American. She's from
Oh,
the
I'm sorry,
heart of
Oscar.
the
I
heartland.
slipped into my second language. It's okay.
Yes, we speak British English all the time. Kazoo had a British English accent. Yes, you did.
Oh, we're prim and proper. Excuse
Drinking
you.
our tea.
Damn it! Now I
Delicious.
want tea.
Yeah, I have just regular
damn.
unleafed water.
I am on withdrawals this week because we
We're
didn't
on
hang
any
out.
topic you want, Lakitu.
Yes.
I have
Oh, Lakitu, bro. I binged Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I read so many of those books. Also great instance of Unreliable Narrator. It's interesting because I think back to those books and I'm kind of like, I don't get the impression that the actions are incorrect. I feel like everything that the character says happens actually happened. However, the way he interprets those events, like kind of paints himself in this egocentric light, that's definitely the unreliable narrator part because he is a brat of a kid.
Yes, I only
It's like
saw
when you
the
get
first
older, you
movie.
go back to those books and you're like, oh my god, this kid is a psychopath.
I only saw the first movie once, and that was it.
The books were something interesting. Like they really made Greg such a honestly a dick. Like he is such a horrible person. It's like this is a middle school age character. Why is he so
It does
horrible
radiate
to
denial.
his friends?
It really does, Pastry Puff. I think she was trying to. I think we said that she was trying to convince herself. I also think it was good, in a way that Edgeworth came back essentially to one of the most difficult times in Phoenix's life. And the reason that I think it was good that that happened is because they could then have Phoenix just sort of a little more accepting of just Edgeworth came back and not being so angry like he was, and it being meaningful like that, right? Because if it was any other circumstance, when he was just kind of chilling and doing his normal thing, and Edgeworth came back, like I don't think he would talk to Edgeworth. I think he would be like, no, dude, bye. You know, you made me think you were dead for a year. You couldn't say any letter. Like, I was literally devastated. You know,
Yeah.
like no one invited me to your funeral.
Was like
and I was just like
crying.
yeah, like he didn't want to talk about it. He was so pissed when anybody brought up like Edgeworth and everything like that. So in any other circumstance,
That's a trauma response.
in any other circumstance, he wouldn't have been willing, I think, to talk with Edgeworth that much. But in the circumstance where it's literally he is doing anything to get Maya back, he is desperate. He's willing to sort of just like push all that pain aside that Edgeworth specifically caused him and like just accept help and be like, I need help. Like, I need
Yeah.
anybody to help me. Like, forget all pretenses before this, just anything. And I think that was a really good way of doing it because, like I said, otherwise we would have a lot of angst in the, like, Edgeworth and Phoenix not talking to each other.
Ugh, it would just be so painful.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Lakitu.
it really is Lakitu, bro.
I wouldn't know because, like I said, I never read the books.
Oh, in the books, Greg barely ever learns his lesson. He really is a static character. At least in the books I have read. I think
mean, there's a
books
ton of
1 through
books.
5. I know there's way more than that, but I kind of fell off the series once I was out of, I think, 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah, you know. When you
Um,
get old for it.
but yeah, he is a very static character. He's kind of like, the best way to think of Greg is to think of him like a Looney Tunes character. Like, think of Bugs Bunny. Their
Exactly,
purpose
Pastry Puff.
is not to grow as characters. Their point is not to learn lessons or change or develop. Their point is to get involved in wacky comedic hijinks and provide laughter. Because most often these scenarios would never happen in real life.
And yet, one of my
Greg Heffley is very much the same way.
episodes of Tom and Jerry is one where Tom dies. Tom actually dies.
Oh, is it the one where he's trying to get the signature from Jerry and Jerry's just refusing?
Yeah, and it's because
Yeah.
Jerry doesn't
I
want
love
him.
that one.
Jerry doesn't want him to die. Like, he can't give him up, right? Like it's his best friend, and like that, like, whole thing is essentially character growth in the sense of that no, they don't hate each other. This is how they enjoy being around each other, right? Like, this is fun. They're not actually trying to, you know, this whole thing. And then, of course, at the end, it goes back to status quo. But
I also love the theory that says, like, Tom only chases Jerry because he knows that if he doesn't do it, they'll get another cat who will just kill Jerry right away. So that's why he chases him, to ensure they won't get another cat who will actually get the job done. Like, yeah, we stand a good I'm doing this for the sake of my friend theory.
That is also very true, Lakitu. I will say that when Phoenix did that, honestly, I was surprised at specifically what he yelled at Edgeworth, in the sense of that, about like the pity thing. My fear when Edgeworth is like, I'll send out a search party, is that the killer is literally like, don't tell the police, right? And we told Gumshoe, but one, he's fired now, and two, he, like, I did trust Gumshoe that Gumshoe wouldn't tell anybody, right, about what was going on and anything like that. And then, of course, Gumshoe very quickly after that got fired, so he was really no longer a liability. Edgeworth literally being like, we are going to form a search party of most likely cops to go and hunt down the person that specifically told you don't tell the cops, right? I was definitely surprised that Phoenix's first reaction was, don't pity me, Edgeworth, and not, no, you can't, and sort of like the rationally irrational fear of getting the cops involved, right? Because that's what a lot of ransom things do, is, don't involve the cops, but you should always involve the cops because they can help you, right? Like they can help you. But obviously Phoenix is not being rational at that point in time, so the whole thing, that's why I was a little surprised about exactly what he got upset with Edgeworth about. Very interesting sort of loop-de-loop-de there. Oh my goodness. My nose is very itchy.
Oh no!
I feel so bad. I should really, really be working on the comic. I really should.
Oh, this is your birthday present to yourself. Your birthday present is Kazoo.
Oh yes, it was always going to be Kazoo because I picked him as my favorite. I don't know why I decided to do Asen first. I like Asen, but he's definitely not my favorite. But yeah, that's just how it went.
Sometimes that's just how it goes.
Yeah, Kazoo will probably always be the D&D character I have redrawn the most.
Alar?
Alar? What?
I don't know. Which
oh, I was saying
D&D
Kazoo. Kazoo.
Oh, my bad.
Like, what? Why did we bring up Alar? I don't know where this came from.
I don't know. I thought for some reason I heard you say yours is the character I've drawn the most. And I'm like,
Oh,
what?
no.
Taylor?
This
What?
is Kazoo will be. I don't know exactly how you got there, but Kazoo, because even though at this point when I do Za's card and when I do Avisha's card, I will have drawn them twice before. I actually drew Kazoo 3 times before he's getting his card, so
Ooh.
that's pretty nuts.
So this will be the final iteration.
This is the yes, this will likely
the
be
official.
never drawn again, because the universe has only given me so much time on this earth, and that time is full of making even more characters. That's the one fear I have about Outcast. This is like really far in the future, because God, Outcast has a lot of content going on before we get there. But I do have that little bit of fear of like never drawing them again, right? Like it's like this little fear of like, if they're not the comic, you know, the obsession kind of wanes a little bit, you know. It's like a whole thing. It's just like, oh, like I don't want to do that, but it's hard. And then I like think about, you know, Kazoo. I love Kazoo, and it's a whole thing. I have not watched Promised Neverland. I think Mars has.
I have, yes. I absolutely love the first season. I think it is a fantastic thriller suspense series, and you know, for as much as it keeps you in one location, it keeps that location interesting with the threat that the kids are up against. Oh, the second season. They did my girl so dirty. They did that entire season so goddamn dirty. I did not know it was so possible to screw up a series. I know there are a couple reasons why that happened. One, the manga was finished, or at least coming to a close, from what I can understand. And what the author decided to do was for the anime, try to give a different conclusion using the same pieces that were already established. Now again, I'm saying this through the grapevine. This is not a thought I have reached on my own. This is something I have heard in a video essay, and I'm just passing it along. But from what I can understand, there is a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of hints throughout the Promised Neverland's narrative. So when you are writing a story, especially one with a lot of foreshadowing, you really have to make sure that all of it's going to come together in the end, right? Because otherwise, your clues and your hints won't have any meaning for the audience, because if they can't put those clues together, then there's no reveal and there's no purpose. Now you try looking at what they tried doing, taking these established pieces that were building to one mystery and then using those same pieces to try to build towards something different. That is a huge feat. And definitely it was not accomplished in season 2. But also, I'm not sure if it could be successfully accomplished. I'm trying to think of another property that takes the pieces you have
Clue.
and then twist them into a whole new narrative. Clue, okay, I can see that.
You see what I'm saying? There's multiple endings, right? Like
it does have multiple endings. You're right.
It has multiple endings. But my point I'd like to say about that is it was intended from day one to have multiple endings, right? They didn't just make a mystery and then go like, ooh, what if we had 2 endings? You know, it was literally like, we're gonna make a mystery, and from moment 1, it has however many possibility endings it has, right? Like, we're making a mystery that's specifically mildly ambiguous in this certain way, you know?
Right. Now that's the idea. When you're writing a mystery, you plan it from the beginning. So because they went in with the idea of, okay, we'll have multiple endings, so all these clues need to align so that all 3 endings make sense, that was successful. when you're retroactively taking a story that was intended to have one ending and then force it to go in another direction using the same building blocks, essentially, that's gonna be one hell of a messy tower.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Pastry Puff, you got it. Don't build mysteries backwards. You really want to know what your ending is going to be when you're writing a mystery, because then you can go
What is
backwards
specifically
and
about the
find all the pieces
mystery?
that will take you there.
I think there's an interesting sort of thing. I really enjoy. Hello, Roval. I really enjoy
Hi, Roval. Good to
this
see you.
comic that is called it's called Judas Kiss, right?
Ah,
And
yes.
it's kind of about, one, the art is great, and two, I love the artist so much. I was this close to commissioning them, but the commissions I wanted from them were closed. But it's
Aw.
okay. And the point is while their whole thing is sort of framed as like a noir vibe, so far to my understanding, the point is not the mystery. The point is the action and the character interactions, and sort of, at least right now in this first arc, really warming up to the characters. I love the characters. I don't really care about the mystery, and there wasn't really a mystery. It was just kind of like, we figured it out relatively quickly. There was a mystery in the sense of that, like, they're detectives and they had to figure out who did it, but that arc of the whole thing is solved relatively quickly. That's not the main part of the story. The story is them then apprehending her, how they apprehend her, how they interact together, the obstacles they overcome in trying to apprehend her. It's much more of an action that way. And God, Ace vibes! Fuck yes! Woo! Okay. One of the main characters is
really
confirmed Ace, and it's really good.
Guys.
He's really good. They're lovely. Both of them. I love them. They're fantastic. It's so good. Read it. It's very short. It's easy to catch up. It's not done yet. But there's not like a ton of content out there, so it's really good. You felt attacked? Because
why did you feel attacked? Did Ori come at you?
I think I just ecstatically said Ace vibes really ecstatically. It was startling. I'm sorry. It's just when any character is like confirmed Ace and the Ace vibes are going, it's like,
yes,
top tier shit.
It's like, please, we need.
Someone pushed you through that. I'm sorry.
Oh no!
I was just excited. I'm sorry.
Ori,
I was just an excited bean. Okay.
Don't kill our viewers, please.
I won't do it purposefully, you know?
Okay, there you go, guys. She won't do it purposefully. Rest assured, you are safe.
Indeed.
Fuck yes, I'm sorry.
No. Chaos indeed.
I'm glad you like it, Pastry Puff. That means a lot. It's it's interesting because I don't think. I'm trying to think if there is unreliable narrator happening in our story.
Yes.
There are certainly points of view. Well, I'm trying not to reveal too much as well.
Well, it depends
Ori.
on who. I'm
trying to be very careful here.
It's one of those things where
we're approaching territory.
It's very much like, I don't think anyone is like lying. You know, it's very much the unreliable narrator of like the eyewitness testimony is only so good, you know?
Yeah.
That sort of...
No, it's like the reliable narrator in the sense of, this is how I perceive the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that type of unreliable
It's the idea
narrator.
that it is a characterized story, you know? So you are going to get different viewpoints on things. So I don't even know if I would call it unreliable in the end, but it's definitely
well, again, that's kind of what I'm saying, where I'm like, I'm not quite sure how to classify it, because... I could see from one perspective. Like, let's take this book Hotson is writing. Within the story, he would be an unreliable narrator if he were to publish his book because it's filled with a lot of unconscious bias about the pirates.
Exactly. But he's not
So-
intentionally sitting there trying to be particularly deceptive in his right. He's not trying to, consciously be deceptive in writing what he writes.
He's writing the worldview that he knows, that he's familiar with. But he will learn very quickly. Oh, he will learn.
I mean, he keeps putting his foot in his mouth. We got view, oh no, we got view of how he writes in the journal in the last update.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
So now we kind of know, like, how does he see everybody?
Yeah.
How
and
does
that's the big thing with Hosen is personal bias.
Oh, yeah.
And with the callers in their own specific ways, they vary specifically with the pirates. Yes,
Absolutely.
that is very true, pastry puff, and I think that's what makes characters relatable. Because there's always difference. There's a difference between telling a story through a character's perspective, right? What that first person, and then having like a story told through third person. And comics do a really interesting thing of the fact that when you write comics, you want to see the character. So you are writing it in a third person, but you also make it first person depending on whose thoughts you hear. And I think a good example of is, what was that anime with the fish?
Oh, Suratama.
There's an anime called Suratama. It is very good. But the whole thing is that while we see other characters and we see their like interactions, and we don't always have the main character be the main focus all the time, he's the only one's thoughts we hear ever. We only hear his thoughts. So while most, really almost all visual media is shown through third person, right? Because of like how what was that, like Dirty Harry was that one movie that tried to be through first person, but almost all media is through third person. It can still be told in a pseudo first person way based on one, who you're following, and two, whose inner dialogue you hear, right? If you're hearing everyone's inner dialogue, then I think it's truly third person. But if you are solely focusing on these thoughts of one specific character, which is what we've been doing in Outcast, you're only hearing Hotzen's thoughts, you're only seeing his writings and this sort of thing, that you do have this biased view still overall, because you don't know what Milano's thinking at any given day, or Ferrix, or whatever. You give like it's what is Hotzen's thinking, if you get any thinking at all.
So it also depends on Hotzen's priorities as well, which, as he currently views the pirates, not very high on his priority list. So you're not going to know what's going through their heads until Hotzen cares enough to find out.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, it is still currently in the comic pretty first-person Hotzen, in the sense of that we're following him. He's in every episode.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
There hasn't been a single episode without him.
Yep. And there will be eventually, but not the majority of them. Oh, I see pastry puff. Yeah, and that's sort of the difference you have, right? Is that because no matter what, unless you put a focus on seeing all other characters, you really are leaning into the main character in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, books do that too sometimes. Seekers did that, where they change, perspective every chapter of what bear you're seeing it from.
Warrior Cats began doing that toward, I think, the second series, if I remember correctly.
I only remember Firestar very well, so I only remember the first series very well. So beyond that, I know I read stuff, but I couldn't.
Well, definitely in the Firestar saga, it was all about Firestar.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
But then when you start reaching like the second iteration with the kids, you start getting all these different perspectives, like Leaf Pool's perspective of what's going on at home, Squirrel Flight's perspective of as she goes on this journey with Brambleclaw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pastry Puff agrees.
Yeah, they really did. They were like, "Oh, we like this," and then never looked
But sort
back.
of the fact that you can have that, right? The fact that a story, you have to make a certain story told that other way, is like a true third person perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's
Hmm.
like, obviously, first person is, you are, I think, done better in books in the sense of that, like, you can read I statements. It's not really done well in movies. And I would say it's
It's
kind of,
definitely easier to see in a book
and it's
because you
done
do have that difference.
it's done interestingly in Ace Attorney, right? Because you are following Phoenix 99% of the time. Obviously, we have these little Maya moments here. But what is still nice is that while in the courtroom, you still get to see Phoenix, right? You still get to see him. Because I think that's a big thing, is that when you have visual media where there is a character that you never get to see, it's kind of weird. It's kind of difficult, even if that is supposed to be, hello Mason, a like
Hey,
audience
amazing.
surrogate. It's still kind of odd, to not be able to imagine anyone specifically. That's why I think books can do first person better, because of the whole thing. That's why also I think the like you like the character X reader like fan fictions are like really weird to me personally.
Oh no, I agree.
Well,
I
I,
can
I think
never.
that has to do a lot. But that's a very specific thing that I think is done significantly better in writing than it is done in like a comic or a movie, right? Like, imagine trying to, when you can see things but you don't have any other senses. Go eat dinner, Oscar, enjoy.
Ah, go
I'm
eat.
sorry you
Don't
can't sleep,
waste good
Mason, but we're happy to
food.
have you. Oh, I think they do it well, Pastry Puff. It's more the idea that it is 99% of the time first person. And the only
And
time that it's not first person is in the courtroom. But I think that is important that they do that, right? I think that the game would feel weird if I never saw Phoenix's face ever, right? If I never knew who I was in the universe, because I don't have full control, right?
well, then you'd also have no connection to the character as well. Like you wouldn't care as much
Versus,
if you didn't see him and have that connection.
and I think the difference with that is that it's versus like a dating sim, right? Like a dating sim, you are specifically making choices. You don't have illusion of choice, you don't have like, you are specifically making choices, right? However, in Ace Attorney, you're solving the mystery. There's a right answer, right? 99% of the time, there's a right answer. There's certain parts in the game where you can choose and they give you like the illusion of choice and these sort of things. But the goal is that there's an end goal, there's a right answer. And because you're on rails, right, to a certain extent, you're not just whoever, never seeing who Phoenix is would be really weird, right? And then they
Yeah.
couldn't do those interesting things where he talks about what he looks like, right? Like, imagine trying to imagine Phoenix fully with the spiky hair and everything, and and the other things. Like, I feel like that would be kind of weird.
It would be
You know,
really
it would be
weird.
kind of weird. But getting to see him and his reactions on the stand really assist in driving home who we are as the player, because we're not us in a dating sim, we're Phoenix, we become Phoenix, right, for the game, right? Versus in a dating sim, you are you getting to date whatever your dating sim is about,
All these
right?
other characters.
Exactly. The point is that they are interacting with you, the player, the person. And I think that's
Yeah.
the really big difference. So it's same with like a comic, right? I think you would have to put in a lot of work to make a comic that could be done sort of like a dating sim would be, because you'd essentially be making a visual novel at that point with your own like um
O OC
website and
character?
stuff, and getting all the different choices, right? Okay, a good example is like Markiplier does those videos, right? Like Markiplier Lost in Space and like Heist, and those
Ah.
choose your own adventure things. Those you never see who you are because you are specifically supposed to be you. But the point is that you can choose, right? You do get full choice. And that's why I think like a movie like Dirty Harry that was trying to be first person where you don't get the reins, it's a jarring sort of difference, right? I think that's the big thing. There's sort of a jarring little like, I have no control and I'm supposed to be me. This character is making decisions that I, Ori, would never make. Versus, even though Phoenix does stuff that I, Ori, might not do, Phoenix, I understand that I'm not Ori, I'm Phoenix. And I think that's like the big difference. And that might be why the weird, like, how about, like the character X reader things are not for me, is very much like, I can't be that character. Like, I would rather, have the two characters interacting than try to be me being forced into certain interactions that I might not respond the same way in. And so it's interesting that way. But obviously people like that, people write it,
That they do.
Yeah, Mason. Yeah, kind of like the generic flavorless protagonist anime. Kind of, what was that one with like 13 and 9? Zankyo no Terror, right?
Oh, Zenkyo no Terror,
The girl was kind of like that flavorless protagonist in anime, but at that point she was very much supposed to be an audience surrogate, and at that point I just kind of disregarded her existence and I watched it for the other two.
It was audience surrogate because she's the one having everything explained to her.
Yeah.
So it's like you
Yeah, so
have
she's
that
not on
insert in
screen
order
very
to
much,
convey
if I
everything,
remember correctly.
but there's not too much personality. There's really not a whole lot going on.
Like, there's really not a lot of that she does, She's really just following the other two around.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, Pastry Puff. Deltarune, I mean, even in the slight differences in sort of runs you can do in Undertale, the original, right? Like the kill everybody one, why can't I remember what it's called? And, pacifist and like neutral.
Pacifist, genocide, neutral,
genocide, that's
think.
the word I want, genocide. Having those options, right? Making those choices, being there not a right answer. That's what I think the difference is on making something that can be actively in, everybody enjoying third person versus something where it's like not everybody can get into it. And I think that's the big difference in sort of point of view perspective. I would be interested.
I definitely relate to that because I could never get into the like your name, my name type of fan fictions. It always felt awkward to me. I could never read them in the way they were meant to be read because it's just like I don't imagine myself in those scenarios.
Yeah.
I would rather see other characters from that series be in those scenarios. I don't want to be with that character.
But it's also
I don't
like,
want to be doing things.
Unless I'm the one writing it, right? Because obviously people are out there who do want to do things with the fictional characters, and Mars and I are definitely a different set of those people. But
more power to them.
even just the idea of not having control, right? Because no matter what, no one but me can write what I would do in any given situation, or what I would think I wanted to do, right? Obviously you can't know until you're in that situation, but the point still stands in the fact that I definitely am like I want the control. So if I was Phoenix and I was trying to be me and not Phoenix, there would be a lot of differences that I would do instead, right? And that would sort of take me out of the game because I don't actually get those choices because I'm trying to get the right answer.
Well, we've even had moments like that where we're like, okay, Phoenix, I want you to ask this question because this is what I'm wondering about. And then he goes off in like a different direction that clearly the game developers think makes sense. But we're like, why the hell is he even talking about this? I don't get it.
And if I was meant to think that I was the attorney the whole time and seeing the courtroom from where Phoenix stands instead of, this sort of third person when we get to see Phoenix,
like,
it would be weird. Versus I could blame Phoenix. Damn it, Phoenix!
It
You
makes
didn't say
me
what I
wonder
wanted.
with Paradise Killer, because you do have that first person perspective when you're adventuring. So like they're definitely leaning into, okay, we want the player to feel like their love dies. But then you have the art, the very lovely art in the dialogue bits where you are very clearly not love dies, like she is her own character now.
Mm-hmm.
So that, what you said about Phoenix kind of reminded me of that, and I'm like, oh, that makes me think a little bit.
It is Paradise Killer is interesting in that way where you have like some choice still, but in a sense of where like you don't have choice, right? You have the illusion of choice. Besides the actual convictions at the end, right, where you do get to technically choose whose evidence you feel did the most, and it looks like you probably could choose wrong. You know, even though there is a right answer, you can choose wrong, like we did with Crimson Acid, right? I feel like the dialogue options you get to choose between, you would still get the same answer eventually. You just wouldn't necessarily, you know, you just get to get there a little differently, which is fun, which I did enjoy, right? I could be sassy, or I could be compliant, and I could do whatever. I sound bummed out. There is a chance that I'm a little stuffed up. I've been having real allergies the past 2 days. So if that is why my voice is a little weird, that might be why. I don't feel particularly bummed out. I got a little bummed out, but I'm probably good now. That was much earlier at this point. But thank you for caring, Mason.
Bummed out.
I gotta say, that comment really threw me.
Oh,
it's hard.
Guys, be nice to Ori. She needs it.
No, I don't. Don't pity me, Edgeworth.
No, we need to support our Ori.
No.
Support your
That's
Ori.
That's my whole thing. I like don't want to talk about it because I don't want pity. But it's just like it is definitely like a, I'm trying to make fun of it.
I don't want your pity.
Yeah, I am Phoenix. I relate to Phoenix way too hard, so you know that's props to that as well. I really do. I think 90% of Phoenix I relate to, except being mean to Gumshoe in Rise. You know, that's the only thing. It's like, no, he's trying, my man.
And why he's so mean to Gumshoe.
For Ori, thank you.
It's like, what did Gumshoe do to him?
This is an interesting question, Mars and chat. This is interesting because I'm curious. I would feel like backhanded compliments hurt more than full-on insults. What do you think?
I feel like I agree.
Yeah.
Because a backhanded compliment is kind of like, okay, like, that feels kind of manipulative in a way to me. Because, like, okay, you were holding back this criticism, you had this criticism, but you took the sandwich method. Like, you sandwiched it between, like, some nice sort of,
but it's not
compliment.
Constructive criticism,
but
right? Like there's the difference there. The criticism here is not constructive, right? Because my whole thing is that
your criticism was literally they wanted to network.
Yeah, well, it was pain.
Like, but, I can teach you. I can offer some tips. Like,
it's not even that line. It's the line before the one line, and it's just like, what was I gonna say? My whole thing is that
particular one came off as pompous to me.
It came off as a little pompous, but to me it was just like, it felt like it was, the backhanded compliment feels more genuine in a sense than like a full out "you suck," right? Well, like if someone just comes "you suck," I could be like, yeah, I don't.
Hateful comment.
Bitch, go
I
away.
At least know what I'm dealing with.
But I can also just be like, go away, you know, whatever. I don't want to interact with you. This is, you know, let's move on. But versus with like a backhanded compliment, it's like, especially one where I don't think that the intention was supposed to be as mean as it really is. It's very much, it's like a, I don't want to not like you, but I really don't like you right now, and I feel bad about that, but I also feel bad. That's a whole thing. There's a trope where everyone bullies a certain character for no reason. I feel like we talked about something like that. I don't remember. Yeah, exactly,
Uh,
pastry puff. Exactly. If you
I
register
can't
it as someone who is
think of
genuinely
the
trying
exact
to be nice,
name.
you're more likely to believe what they're saying, which makes any rude or mean things they say way hard. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. It's very much a like
Oh
a
yeah.
I like encouraging in certain parts that I want to take to heart, but you can't take the whole thing to heart without taking the negative things to heart, and it's like very
Mm.
difficult. I have the same thing with Dylan, right? You know, if Dylan says something in kind of a weird way, even though I can sit here and be like, I know he doesn't mean it, he loves me, you know, all this sort of stuff. It's just like, if I want to take when he's genuinely excited about something, I have to take the rest of it as genuinely as possible, and it's like pain.
It's one of those things where it's like you gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah, but it's
It's like
harder to
you
do
don't
that.
want to do that, especially with a backhanded compliment, because the criticism is what's like the meat of it.
Well, it's because I want to take the genuine part of, like, yay, you know, good, happy, nice, but then you can't do one without the other, at least not easily in your brain when you put them together, and it's just pain. And so that's why we're doing Kazoo right now.
Aw, Ori.
It was very much a like a. Well, it also was a little. It was a little rough in the sense of that I took like an easy day to day. It was nice. Like I said, all my plans fell through this week, but that means my schedule is rather open to do, you know, other things. So I took it kind of easy today. I sat outside. It was very nice, and I did like sketchbook stuff, and I've been kind of upset with this one artist that renders beautiful, gorgeous hair on these beautiful, gorgeous boys, and I'm just like sitting here, and it's just like, I want that. Like, I want it really bad, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm like watched a hair rendering tutorial on YouTube, and it's like, I'm gonna go sit, and I like, and there's someone who drew really gorgeous fan art of Hotsun for Art Fight that I'm also obsessed with, and so there's like a
Yes.
little, and I'm just
Oh,
like
I
here,
loved it.
and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna do an attempt to make this kind of hair that I've been enjoying so much. And it really didn't work. And so I did kind of have to accept that, like, the style that I like for the characters that we have is just not conducive to this. Because it's not like, I like my style, but it's definitely one of those, like, I wanted to try something different and I just didn't like it, and I'm a little sad, but, you know, such is life. I tried it.
It
And that's what matters.
happens. But it's no measure of how good you are at as an artist. It's just a different style that you haven't done very much.
Yes, FX is Roval. It's so gorgeous. They drew Hotsun so well, and I'm just so. It's beautiful. I can't get over it. It's like my favorite piece of film. It's so good. He looks so good. But it's one of those things where it's very much like, I know that I am not a painterly style person. The level of rendering that I've gotten to at this point is something that I've gotten to over many years, and is definitely something that I don't do super frequently because it's not super for me. Well, Hotsun was actually drawn before I drew Kyo. I drew Kyo after that because she didn't upload Kyo to Art Fight before that. So originally I drew this like vampire bounty hunter of hers named Jesse, and he was really cool, and he was fun to draw. And then she completely independently was drawing Hotsun at the same time, so it was funny and it worked out. And we sort of had this like, oh god, you know, I posted my first, and she's like, I didn't even know I drew Hotsun, and so she revenged. And then I saw that she had put Kyo up, and I loved Kyo's design that she had posted a little before. And I was like, I can't not. One, beautiful Hotsun have to reciprocate, and two, I love Kyo's design so much. It is honestly one of my favorite character designs I've seen in a long time, and I'm just obsessed.
Really?
So it's so good. It's the kite maker Mars.
Oh, that
Yes.
one! I gotta be honest, that inspired me to make, like, my kind of own, like, this person makes, like, stuff type of character.
Yeah, so it was so good, and I was just so happy to do it. So I had to. It was so good. Our fight, like, lit something in me that's like, I really want to draw other people's OCs, but I only have so much time in the day. I think I have to change the highlight.
That's just the harsh reality of it all.
Harsh reality. And thank you, Roval. Saying I drew her OC good means a lot today. I appreciate it. But yeah, that makes sense, Pastry Puff. It is why gaslighting and manipulation is so terrible and difficult to get out of when you are the one in it, you know, being gaslit and manipulated.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing.
That's never a fun time. No one enjoys that.
It's the worst when it's like you know, but you still like when your brain knows, but emotionally it's still like, ugh, you know, that's the worst part. Or
it's a blow.
Yeah.
It's just like you have to wonder, did the person genuinely mean this, or are they like really being nasty?
Yeah, I don't think they did, but it was definitely just like And then I couldn't do the comic because the comic requires an amount of you need to just let it not be perfect. So I didn't have that today.
That's fair. It happens, Ori.
Did not have it. Ooh,
no one's
I like this overall?
judging you for
I don't like
it.
this overall. Okay. Just certain parts will be this color. He gets life now.
Ooh. How lovely.
How lovely indeed. He is a lovely boy. This is my very first D&D character.
Oh, he's grown so much over the years.
He's so beautiful.
Yeah. Pooh, what topic should we talk about now? 15 minutes. What do we got?
Any topic. All the
keep the questions coming, guys. Try to derail the conversation. If you have any games with tropes you like, or books, or TV shows,
I was gonna say this.
Please
we got
drop
off topic
them
before,
in the comments.
And it was, I'd be curious. I know that second-person perspective exists, but I have literally never ever heard of any sort of media or content that does that, right?
It is, well, not that question, unfortunately.
555 5555 5555. I think that's enough numbers.
Oh, there you go. Now you have worries.
It's easy to remember. Oh, look at that. That's so much better.
Simple.
Life. Yeah, the second person perspective, right? Like I think it's one of those things where obviously it would be hard, right? Like I can't even imagine how you would do that. But the fact that it's one of those things that it's just like, yes, this exists because like it has to, right? Like process of elimination, like it has to exist.
First person, second person, third person.
Yeah. But it's still being this sort of like ethereal, it's sort of like the fourth dimension, right? The fourth dimension must exist, but we honestly have no idea what it's like or how it would be or anything like that. And I think that's kind of wild. So if anybody knows of any second person stuff, that'd be kind of interesting.
The only thing I could think of that kind of qualifies as second person are poems, for the most part. Poems definitely love using the second person.
I don't know how to say that. CYOA.
Kyowa? Sayowa.
They look like mysteries. Are they mysteries? They're choose your own adventure?
Okay, well
Oh,
that
that's
makes
what that
sense with
means.
the choose your own adventure genre.
That's what CYOA stands for. Duh.
You know, that's the first time I've seen that acronym.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So don't feel bad, Ori. That took me a while as well.
Is that second person though?
That would be. Because it
That's
would
not
be
first
like
person?
you walk. No, because first
Oh,
person is
you're
I.
right.
First person is I
You're
saw
right.
this, I saw that. Second person is you saw this, you saw
No,
that.
you're right.
So yeah, choose your own adventure books. Those are designed for second person.
Which is
That's
interesting
essentially the
because
hallmark
that
of the
means
genre.
that I would say that
I
second
just forgot
person
they existed.
perspective follows the same thing as what I was talking about with first person perspective in games and stuff, right? Like the fact that it has to give you agency, right? If you don't have agency, it's hard to be absorbed in it, you know?
Well,
I guess
if you think about it, tabletop RPGs are also played in the second person. You walk into a room and you see a barman at the tavern.
I
Like,
guess you're
that's
right.
second person right there.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Huh. Yeah, I never thought about that.
The more you know.
Water has a taste we'll never have? That's fine, Pastry Puff. We go on any topic. I learned that we technically can't feel wet. Yeah, lots of animals, including humans, can't actually feel wet. We can feel things associated with wet that makes us assume we're wet, but you ever feel like a cold piece of cloth and you have to be like, wait, is this wet or is this just cold? You know, these sort of things.
Well, that information's going to ruin my day.
Yeah, so you literally can't feel wet. You can only feel the side effects of wet. Spiders can feel wet, though. I did learn that. Spiders can feel wet.
Huh. I guess that would make sense, because they're basically designed to feel everything in their environment.
Yeah, it has something to do with, like, it's like a specific sense, which is wild to me, you know? Isn't that nuts? Imagine so many senses that we just don't have.
We just don't get. Humans are lame. Although
exactly, Lakitu.
I did get into an interesting talk with my mom the other night about humans.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, because we were actually talking about asexuality, and
that's horrible, Mason.
Oh jeez.
I once heard a story. Okay,
Ew.
I'm sorry, I'm going way off topic, Mars, but because this
no
reminded me
worries.
of something. There was a story that told me about this woman who had long hair, and she like, for whatever reason, considered herself not to have enough time to like dry her hair, which I don't understand, because I air dry my hair, which is just leave it down until it's no longer wet, you know? I don't
literally same.
But apparently this woman, immediately after a shower, would put her hair up in a bun and then let it dry that way. But of course, it's not really drying. So, and I'm gonna say, Skeevy's coming, okay? Skeevy's coming. Warning, right now. Skeevy's coming.
How much am I gonna hate this?
You're gonna hate me, Mars. You're gonna hate me a lot. So she went to a hairdresser in order to get just a haircut. And when the hairdresser let down her hair and was like combing through the hair, she found literal mushroom fungus growing in her hair because of it being moldy and wet all the time. Like, I'm not talking mold, I'm talking like fungus, right? Like
Ibicui bisco.
Yeah, like fungus. And they were like, oh yeah, maybe we should go with like a bob. Not do this again. Horrible. Okay, Skeevy's over.
That's all kinds of unfortunate.
Yeah, terrible. That one gets me. It's like, I like my scalp being fungus free, thank you.
Yeah, right? It's like, who would have thought? I don't want skeevy fungus on my head.
Yeah, there's also, Pastry Puff, there's also a chance that they can grow into just their head in general and kill them.
Yeah.
That happens a surprising amount. Same with tusks on certain animals. they can curve so much that they curve back into the animal and literally puncture their skull and their brain. Isn't that
I think
terrible?
hooves can do the same to feet as well.
The hooves. You ever see those those like farrier YouTube things where the horse is just incredibly overgrown hooves? Just sad.
Yes.
It's just, I feel so bad.
I feel so bad for that poor
The
horse.
poor horse. Such a
Like,
poor
it's just
horse.
trying to live its life and
Well, you know, it's one
do
of those
what it
things that's
needs
like,
to
they
do.
gotta take care of it, you know?
Yeah.
You ever see that lady? A long time ago, there was a news episode, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. A news section on the news. That was about the woman that held like the longest fingernail Guinness World Record. And you look at her hand, and it's just the nail like corkscrew curled and like all around. We're like talking like feet of nails. Terrible. Oh, beaks?
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know beaks could do that, Lakitu. Damn. Why
It is
nature
gnarly.
really is such a fine balance, though, isn't it? Isn't it such a fine balance? It's one of those that it's just like,
Truly.
it's just a little bit goes wrong, and you know, dead. Nice, right? But you know, the vast majority of them don't die, so it works well enough. That's how nature goes. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is.
It's like, you know, as long as most of them live, nature did its job.
Exactly. That's all they need. Most, not all. Most.
Yep. Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest. Goodness. Wow. Yep. But the funny thing is that the fittest were just lucky sometimes. You know, you were just lucky that you were a ram whose horns didn't grow and pierce your skull. But the vast majority of them don't grow long enough to pierce the skull, and thus that gene never goes away. Right?
Fittest doesn't always mean the fittest.
Yeah, fittest is a word that is really deceiving. Because look at the ocean sunfish.
It really is a wildly misused
bear.
word.
Jesus.
Oh, no kidding.
Goodness.
It's supposed to eat meat. Instead, it's eating bamboo.
And they don't know how to have the babies. They don't know how to do it.
Oh, they need so much help.
Yeah, exactly though, Pastry Puff. Could have been you know, we had wings or something, but the guy like died because he got smushed on by a rock, you know? He couldn't control that, wings or not. He didn't know. Or someone like you know, someone had the dormant gene for like chameleon skin, but they got like shot in a duel. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? We'll never know.
We never will.
We'll never ever know.
We became boring.
I guess that's kind of the premise of Deadpool, ain't it?
When you think about it, yeah.
Well, would you looky there? Kind of just the premise of Deadpool. In a way. Not a full way, but you know, a close enough way.
Close enough.
Beautiful. I think we'll be wrapping up rather soon.
I believe so. We're definitely past midnight. I'm surprised Midnight Brain didn't kick in.
I slept really well last night, so that probably has to do with it.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yes. Well, I went to bed actually earlier than like 2 a.m., so you know,
First time for everything.
Do it. You know, that'll definitely do it. But yeah, all right. Any last minute questions before we wrap up and I stay up too late finishing this kazoo because I need him in my life. And if I don't finish him today, I don't know when I will. That's just life. That's what happens. I didn't do the shiny on the middle.
Ori, how could you? You're in Naz team too, Lakitu, bro? Yeah, It's
Yeah.
been a long day,
It's
a
that
long
time of
week.
night.
Everybody's done a lot. Good night,
Alright,
pastry
guys.
puff.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Fun, different thing this Sunday. Instead of Drawing in Dragons, we will be playing Baldur's Gate with Dylan and another
Yes.
member of our table who you guys have seen in chat but have never heard before. And the four of us will be playing Baldur's Gate. Mars and I for the very first time. Dylan and Doug have played before and are probably playing right this very moment together.
Yes.
But we hope to see you there. Drawing in Dragons is not gone forever. It'll be alternating with Baldur's Gate. So every other week will be Baldur's Gate or Drawing with Dragons. So keep up with the schedule there. But we hope to see you there. It'll be good, fun, chaotic D&D fun. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Take care.